and this is Satan's world. Yes, it is my world, and I'm sure you don't understand or see that it is my world. But believe me, that's all in my favor. Now, this is the first of my shows, Satan's World, which I'm putting on public access television. Because I know, even when I reveal my plan to you, the public, you will not understand, you won't believe it. You will just say, oh, what a silly public access show. That guy's playing a funny character, isn't he? Well, let me tell you, I'm going to reveal my entire plan for the complete takeover of the world. And then the real evil will begin. Now, normally on the show, what I've done is brought on somebody who will be questioning my plan. You see, everybody who makes complex plans, I should say everybody except for me, needs an independent reviewer to take a look at those plans and try to see things that the people who are developing those plans might be too close to those plans to actually see the flaws. And so they need independent reviewers. So just for my own amusement and humor, I'm going to hire the best person in hell, which I believe is the best person in the world, to actually find flaws in complex plans, and I'm going to show these exchanges on air with you, so you can see my flaws and my plans for world takeover and conquest. But believe me, my world conquest is pretty much complete. It's almost all over for you public. So, in this show, it's going to be a very special show indeed. In fact, I'm going to try to condense my plans and simplify them in a way you can understand in just this short, less than a half an hour. So, I should get right into it. I will reveal what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Do you like it? Well, as you can imagine, my plans are quite complex. So complex that the people, you sheeple, can't possibly figure it out. And that's part of the reason why it goes on, and I will win and defeat the people. Yes! And so, what I'd like to do first is explain to you just some very basics. The basics are that if you take all the major governments of the world, all the major corporations of the world, all the major media, the mainstream media, and all the large, powerful, non-governmental organizations, non-profits, for-profits, etc. Now, if you take all those, I control them all. That's right, Satan controls every single mainstream media program. Yes, I control Democracy Now! I control NPR, Fox News, CBS, NBC, and many others. Completely. Now, don't be afraid. Well, you should be very afraid. But let me assure you, I don't control everyone in the government, nor do I control everyone in media. But if you look at the very top power structure, the very control of those organizations and the government, I control them completely. So I may not control for example, the writer who writes about court proceedings locally or local crime or something like that. But when it comes to national politics and anything of value to me, I control it. Now, a lot of people might ask me, how could you control the entire government? How could you control the entire media? Wouldn't your plans slip out? You don't understand my evil. You don't understand how I can control people. You all know that if somebody puts a gun to somebody's head, they will be very submissive and be very apt to follow orders. Yes, of course. Or if you say, if you do this, I will give you $1 million. Again, very convincing. Or if you do this, I won't kill your family or torture your little daughter. You see, when it comes to Satan, no evil is off the table. I use extortion. I videotape politicians in places that they shouldn't be, doing things that they really shouldn't be doing, and that the people, the public, would freak out about, that things are against the law and would ruin them and their family and their name. So I control those people completely. But to really convince you of how much control I have over individuals, you could say that I have a satanic army. Yes, my own cult of military people that will do anything I say. Now, you might wonder, how could you develop those people? How can you create people like that? Well, let me explain to you little people. You've all heard of cults, haven't you? You all know that the cult leader says something and the rest of the people drink the Kool-Aid and die, or go kill somebody, or anything else that they want, right? Well, little cults like that are child's play compared to what I do. Yes, you've heard of multi-generational satanic families. They have nothing on me. I really know how to grow my army. You see, I take a little baby and I torture them. And I give them a very nice, happy family life. And I torture them and abuse them by that same family. And in doing so, I twist their mind. I break and shatter their mind into many pieces. People, of course, have heard of split personalities, multiple personalities, dissociative identity disorder. Well, those people have been broken by whatever life circumstances they have. But few people realize that that can be done on purpose, with scientific precision and control and power. You see, if you break people like that, and you have the fear of torture and being ostracized from their family and for the people that they care about, their sense of identity, you don't show them what reality is. You give them a reality that they must believe in. A reality that is torturous and painful. And if they ever try to escape, you entrap them and you give them more pain. So they are up against a knife's edge on their neck all the time. And they get split personalities. Their brain can't handle it, so it splinters off the pieces that can handle it. And what I do with those pieces is very intelligent and very sophisticated. Far too intelligent and sophisticated for you common people to understand. But let me try to explain the nuts and bolts of my satanic army. You see, you split people off and you grow people up in a way. And thanks to the CIA, they've helped me out with certain techniques and drugs and equipment that really allows my army to be extremely reliable. These people have a public persona that gets developed over time. This persona doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes with the other personalities that come out during satanic rituals, should we say, at night, or when they deceive the public. Let's take, for example, a politician. A politician speaks in such a friendly, professional manner, all about the Constitution and values and the family and what's good. And yet that politician turns around and votes for the most anti-Constitution legislation, anti-family, anti-humanity legislation that you could possibly imagine. Now, you must ask yourself, how is that possible? How could they be like two different persons? They are two different persons. You don't understand. They have multiple personalities. And when I program those personalities, I tell them through my minions what to do, they do it. And if you come and question, why did you vote for the Patriot Act that takes away the rights of American citizens? They'll say, oh, well, I need to protect America, and give you total BS that most of you will buy, or at least get placated by. So, my satanic army is of satanic cult members, and those people are 100% reliable, under pain of death and torture. Those people have been so leveraged out. They know that if they ever don't follow my advice, I mean what I tell them to do, they may get killed, their family may get tortured or killed, they may get exposed for doing their terrible deeds that I make sure that they do. I tell them to do it, and I videotape them. So there's no way. And I get them involved in little corruption, more and more and more and more. So I have so much on them, I could nail them to the wall in any which way I feel like. Now, as far as the education of people, people are brought up in a nationalized system. It's no longer local schools that are run by local city officials, or even state governments at this point. No, there's federal mandates, federal grants that make all the schools the same under my agenda. And so, through controlling publishers and also the accreditation process for teachers and for historians, I control the information and the processes and the learning methods that students learn throughout their lives. And I've been in control of the establishment for decades and decades and centuries. Yes. And so people don't even realize at this point that they're not learning the very basics of education in school. They don't know anything about how to think. It's normally called critical thinking, and yet nobody's aware of critical thinking in schools anymore. It is taught only to lawyers. Now, this is a major cue I did because it's part of the classical liberal arts education that every student should get, but they don't anymore. Students go through high school and college, they don't even know what a fallacy is, they don't know what rhetoric is, or logic. They don't understand these very basic things. They don't understand what science is exactly. They may know their names and their geographies and silly things. They know how to do things procedurally, but they don't know how to actually critically think. And they're no longer aware except of the information that I want them to be aware of. They don't know anything about carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, how it's actually an extreme low if you look at the time scale of millions of years or hundreds of millions of years. They don't know that. So they think global warming, there's too much carbon dioxide, we need carbon taxes in a global scheme for global government, which would of course be my ideal. So it's not so many governments I have to deal with, just one, my government, that I use to control the people, that is. And so through omission in my textbooks, through obfuscation, through false implanting of information, which I don't need to use much because I use so much limitation of information. I describe things in certain ways that twist people's knowledge and understandings. And so they don't think in terms of individual freedoms anymore, how Americans once did. They think of what's best for the planet, what's best for the collective. And under a communist system such as that, people think of the collective over themselves, which gives the state a reason, a pretext in order to rule with absolute power, because they are the representatives on Earth of a collective system. So what they say goes. As opposed to individual freedoms, to where people are free to say, I can do what I want, you don't have the power to control salt, or how much security I need to go through to fly on an airplane, or whether there should be checkpoints, or whether police should have stun guns. No, these are questions for the people. These are questions for local governments, not national governments, who are so much harder to control. And I attack people in many ways to reduce their conscious awareness of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Now take, for example, economy. Now, it used to be in the 50s and before that one person could work in a family and it could support the entire family with ease. But now it takes two and sometimes more than that. It takes the entire family, or it takes multiple jobs from both parents to raise that family. Because although their productivity has been going up and up year after year, the effective money that they get, the power of purchasing power that they receive, is getting less and less and less. And so they need to work more and spend more time, and that takes away their energy and their focus away from the government, away from corruption, and so my corruption can flourish. Now there's other things that I attack. I give people technology. I give people beautiful info babes and news screens and entertainment and video games and every distraction you could possibly imagine. Why would I be so interested in distracting people? Again, to keep the eye off the ball of corruption. And so I allow people to be connected more and more with each other through things like Facebook and iPhones and iPods and FaceTime and all sorts of text messaging and little tweets to keep the little birds chattering amongst themselves, just talking about meaningless things. For example, I limit how many characters you could use in a tweet, just to keep things glib and superficial. And pictures and family, and so people can be caught up in the trivialities of life and yet not see the big pictures or be concerned or even have the capability to describe what is going on. And people are brought up in an authoritarian system to where they listen to the people in the government, and they listen to the people in the media, and they listen to the people in their schools, and the people who write textbooks, and they're like, they're the authority. I'm not qualified to understand this subject. I must just take what they know and try to absorb as much as I can. And then I will be intelligent. Those fools. I go after people's freedoms and their rights in order to make them more easily led and subjugated and used to controls. You see, I don't like people's freedoms. I hate them. And my minions share my disdain for the power of the people, the various powers and rights delineated in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution. Oh, it gets me angry when I read those. But rest assured, I am assaulting them all. Like, for example, the Fourth Amendment, which allows people to be secure in their personal things and effects against unwarranted searches and seizures. Well, I've destroyed that. The USA Patriot Act? Oh, yes. The Patriot Act was meant for patriots. Yes, so we can spy on them and make sure that they're not doing anything too patriotic for their country to defend the Constitution. No, I don't like that. No, now we have spying on just about everyone. We're reading everybody's emails. We're looking at where they're going to on the web. We're opening their physical mail. We're spying them on their phones. Yes, we spy on them in many, many ways. And it produces a chilling effect because I let them know that I'm watching, that the government's watching, and that together we see what they're doing. And so they're afraid to associate with each other and to form groups and afraid to even say their own opinions to each other, to their friends. It produces a chilling effect, which is very important in any police state, of course. And then there comes the NDAA, which allows the government to arrest, detain, and even execute citizens inside America without any due process. No court order, no warrant, No probable cause, no charges. That's right. No rule of law. Whatever the government says goes. We charge somebody with terrorism, we say you're an illegal combatant, they're dead, they're imprisoned, they're shipped off to Guantanamo or to some kind of black site that the CIA controls, or one of our little friendly governments. Yes, I control all this. Basically, you can be tortured and killed and disappeared anytime with the National Defense Authorization Act. The TSA is just the beginning. You see, Homeland Security is not for the security of the United States or its people. It's for the security of my corruption and my control. You see, we are creating spies all over the United States, authorized by Homeland Security, working directly with the FBI and other agencies. And these spies are everywhere. They're in civil groups, they're in your colleges, in your workplaces, your CEOs, your bosses, your dentists. Oh yes, your preachers. Oh yeah. They're spying on their flock for Homeland Security. So I can implement a true police state, have the fear that you are being spied on, you little flies and maggots. I will control you through fear. You will not be able to stand up, to look around without thinking, who's watching me? You see all those cameras going up everywhere on all the street corners? Oh yes, that's my doing. And I am watching. Satan's eye is always watching. And through my darker agencies, like FEMA, oh yes, we will declare an emergency in the United States that will give the pretext for gun confiscation, for going after groups and individuals within the United States with that no due process that has been allowed by the NDAA, which of course is a total fraud on the face of it. If you guys knew anything about law or had any common sense, you would recognize that the Constitution is above any law that Congress could generate, and that executive orders are of no force. Yes, but you people are too silly to understand anything about the Constitution or true law or common sense. You would have recognized that all these executive orders by presidents that go in the face of the Constitution, that all these laws that are passed by Congress or the state governments that violate the Constitution and your little precious Bill of Rights had no force because they were unconstitutional. You would never figure that out. Do you wonder why so many huge sports stadiums are being created, being funded when the economy is supposed to be down so far? Do you wonder why all the money is being poured into Homeland Security and cameras on street corners and all this surveillance technology and spy grids and spy centers? It's for you, the American public. So I can identify all the little troublemakers, all the people who might cause me problems, all the people who are stockpiling food and weapons and preparing for my takeover and trying to resist me. I will have their names, I will have their locations, I will have their tracking devices in my sights. Their little iPods and iPhones and iPads, and their little cellular phones will be little homing devices, and the police will find them. We will find them. We have already identified them with my my Facebook, and their little tweets, and their YouTube accounts, and their Google searches. I have the complete intelligence on the American people and the people of the world. Of course, right now my control isn't complete. I need to kill billions of people through pretexts of famine and financial problems and financial crises and terrorism. I need to make those pretexts. But since I control the governments of the world and the mainstream media, and people follow those and listen to those, I control the people. I control the chessboard. I've already made the moves, I've calculated the moves. The people, I have them in the palm of my hand. Of course, they could fight back right now. They could spread awareness of what's actually going on and use their freedoms like freedom of speech and association and expose what I'm doing, expose that 911 was an inside job, expose that vaccines and GMO foods are bad for them. But they won't do this. They are too weak. They are too dependent on the authorities because I brought them up that way through their schooling and weakened them mentally through their foods and their water and their vaccines. So, as you can see, I control it all. I am Satan, and this is my world, Satan's world.